What is keeping score? It's a simple, practical, 9-step approach to doing any project, anywhere, at any time. That's it. It's available as a book, okay, Keeping Score. It's available as a movie in high definition made in Princeton and in Myrtle Beach. It's available also on site using both the book, the movie, and some time on a golf course with me learning about project management. So why keeping score? Well, obviously there's a golf connection. I like the idea that golfers, when they're playing in tournaments, keep score so they know where they are. Likewise, project managers should keep score of their projects so that they too can know where they are. It goes a bit further. I like the idea too that the 9 steps that I have in the approach could be mapped directly to 9 holes on a golf course, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd to the 9th. And that the length of the hole is somehow related to the amount of work I believe a project manager should be doing on that particular step. Here's an example. The first hole, for an example, is setting objectives. Now, it's extremely important, but it's not a lot of work for the project manager. Therefore, it's a par 3 in our analogy. Now, the 5th hole, which is risks, is a lot more work for the project manager. You have to identify the risks, analyze the risks, respond to the risks, and therefore it's a par 5 in this analogy. And I think it works well. So this idea of a sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, steps having names, and the length of the step being related to the par of the hole or the length of the hole. It's a nice analogy. Now, the 9 steps, that's not related to the knowledge areas, okay? It's just a coincidence, although it's a nice coincidence. There's nothing magical about the number 9. The idea that the 9 knowledge areas from the PMBOK are useful when a project manager is thinking about planning or controlling is very positive. However, Bob, the character in the book, he uses them to set the boundaries of project management, which is very useful for Bob and for him to be able to define the vocabulary. The idea, if you know, the PMBOK originally started as 37 steps, then it went to 39 steps, then to 44 steps, and now it's settled at 42 steps. But that's still too many to be practical on most projects, and that's why we've adopted the 9-step approach here linked to the 9 holes on the golf course. So the symbols that you'll see in the book and in the movie. English is a difficult language. There is much ambiguity, much misunderstanding, and perhaps some intentional, and also some miscommunication. And in keeping score, I wanted to try to go beyond the words of English or any language and reach into this idea of symbols or graphics to represent concepts, might as you would do at an airport today to see these icons and logos. So here's the idea. Each concept is represented by one symbol, and then those are put in order to develop the sequence. So for example, a roadmap like you might have here would represent the schedule on a project. The smiley faces would represent the stakeholders, who's smiling, who's not smiling, and understanding those. The matches on the fire would represent risks and issues. Okay, not that difficult, but you get the idea, risks and issues. And finally, perhaps the jigsaw pieces. This idea that there are pieces of work that need to be done, we call them work packages, in order to achieve the project. So Bob and Ed were able to understand that there was not only these concepts, but there was a sequence to these concepts, putting them in the right order. And by walking these on the river walk, they learned that sequence, and that worked for them. It worked particularly well for them to understand that there was a rhythm, like the 9 holes in golf, but here it was the rhythm to the 9 symbols as they walked them out. And I hope they work for you too. To the scorecard. Okay, that's fairly straightforward, taken from golf. All golfers keep a scorecard close to them, they know how they're doing. And I think project managers could learn from that. The idea that your scorecard tells you what you're going to do. It's got some rules on how you're going to do it. And then it has the 9 steps that we talk about, each one with its activities for filling out all on one page. And everybody wants a one-pager nowadays. especially sponsors when they have many projects on the go. So the idea is that if you have one project, you have one scorecard. If you have two projects, you have two scorecards. If you're starting next phase of a project, you'll start another scorecard. Now, ideally, I suppose it should be available electronically for iPad, so you could click on it, but for the moment, we just use pencil and eraser to keep it up to date.